Hi, and welcome to Ask the Chiropractor. I'm Dr. Corey Rodnick. This is Dr. Tony Rodnick. This is Dr. Tamara Slusher.
Hi.
Hello, hello, hello. And actually, as we're filming this today, it's a snowstorm. But today, we're going to talk about spring because it's pre-recorded. So we're going to talk about spring cleanup. We're going to talk about degeneration and children chiropractic. So it should be an exciting day for us, my favorite subjects. So I guess I'd like to talk about degeneration because it's been bothering me. It really bothers me when I get these people in their 50s, 60s, and they come in with severe disc degeneration, herniation, ruptures, and they don't realize that it started 25 years ago, 20 years ago. And it just breaks my heart to tell them that. And I feel that our profession is like not doing what they really should do on it. And again, I apologize for my profession, and I feel very sad about it. It just is really upsetting. So that's what we want to talk about first, because it's really on my mind. First of all, let's get rid of the idea, do discs heal? I hear out there, no, they never heal. Well, if you look at it from different perspectives, they don't heal. But if you look at it from what makes it heal faster and slows degeneration down, of course it heals. Of course it can be helped. Of course, of course, of course. I do have emergencies like we all do, where I send them to the orthopedic surgeon or a neurosurgeon, where, of course, you know, that happens. And unfortunately, I mean, I'm not 100% with care. I'm sure you guys aren't either, right?
Right.
Does all this make sense so far?
Yeah.
But however, have I ever had someone with disc ruptures and disc herniations improve and rebuild the whole disc back to 100%? And the
Well,
answer
you're
is
a walking
yes.
testimonial just like I
I am.
So, you know, yeah, we know that that's true.
Oh my
So,
God, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, she's talking about, for me, I had C3 was 50% degenerated or herniated or whatever you want to call it, and 50% 4 and 5, and then between 5 and 6, 6 and 7 was 75% stenosis, meaning the holes were squished down on the nerves exiting, and the ligaments had pushed in, the disc had pushed the ligaments into the cord. So every time I jar myself at all, I'd actually be hitting my spinal cord. Mm-hmm. And that's how bad I was just on that part. And I regrew it all. Took 3 years, regrew everything. I'm back. I still haven't gone on the roller coaster rides yet, because that usually whiplashes me pretty good. Mm-hmm. But I feel like I'm able to do it now, but I'm still hesitant. But it's just turning to spring, so we'll see how it goes.
And you've done this without surgery.
Without surgery,
so
correct.
That's important to know. I mean, in my case, I had a really bad L5 disc, and I've seen that has completely regenerated and everything's good there. And I'm in the healing stage on L4 right now. So, yeah, I'm a walking testimonial too. It does get better. There, you know.
And Tony's lucky enough not to have any of that too much.
Yeah. I keep my spine aligned so that
so everything's fine.
So everything's fine. Although you still have accidents and things happen, but if you're aligned, things work out more easily.
So you could still re-injure it. You could injure it over and over. And even if you have surgery, you could still re-injure it and have different problems over and over.
Right.
I know I've had multiple injuries, and I know that. You know, from whiplashing, I remember getting a car and driving it as a kid just to smash into things and on purpose.
You were a wild kid.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, we were watching that program. What is that? They had the car.
Dukes of Hazzard.
Dukes of Hazzard.
Oh yeah.
So I Dukes of Hazzarded.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, fly off the cliff kind of thing, run through the fences, and that was all fun for us. We'd all pitch in, buy a car.
It's a scary thought.
Just to ride into stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, there was a few cars we couldn't actually, one I couldn't destroy. Still kept going. Couldn't even finish it off. Anyway, that was a well-built car. So they don't make them like that anymore. So, you know, and then, you know, skiing accidents and different things like that. Hitting a deer, that was a wonderful moment. Different things like that. And then getting electrocuted, that was another moment. I've had lots and lots of moments.
So what did you do to help rebuild your discs that they said you needed surgery for?
Well, the first thing is the misalignment will cause it to degenerate, just like a tire in your car. So that's the best example. So if you misalign your tire, and let's say it's, you know, 40,000 miles, it might not make 40,000. Instead, it may only make 10,000 or 8,000 or 6,000 because it multiplies itself. So the misalignment will make it degenerate, sometimes double, 4 times the normal
Up
rate.
to 5 times, yeah.
Yeah, 5, 8.
Because the
It's
misalignment
unbelievable.
causes the motion to be irregular motion, not
Correct.
normal motion.
Yeah.
Just like
Hence
the
why
tire.
we balance and rotate our tires. So same way you balance and rotate your tires, you need to balance out your spine.
Right. So if you've had a
So, yeah.
fall or a twist or a whiplash, and think of all the just football alone, going through high school football,
Yeah.
junior high football.
Yeah, absolutely.
I remember I must have whiplashed it zillions of times because I was like fearless, and I was small but tough, and boy, I'd run into brick walls, you know, and still knock them down. I was able to knock people down, and I imagine that's not good for your neck. Didn't have a clue at the time that it could hurt me in the future. Never even thought about it really, and then the car accidents, all the other stuff. So. Yeah, that's very important
so you
with the
hit
alignment.
people with your head? I think you're supposed to not use your head as a.
Well, back then, body blocking was a legal thing. It's not legal anymore. So I would run as fast as I can, which I was really fast, and I would just take my body sideways and level everything that was in front of me. You know, try to go for the knees, and that's why they quit it, because everyone kept getting wrecked up knees. So now it's illegal to do that, and it's a bad penalty. It's almost a shameful penalty at this point. You know, oh, he did a body block, shame on him. Okay, but that's what we did back then, and pretty normal. But I imagine when my body would stop, my head would probably go dangling back and forth.
Well,
and,
we see people that come into the office too that have done things like that and have been ruthless and reckless in their younger years and stuff, and then, you know, you're showing them an x-ray and then they're wondering why, you know, they're 30 or 40 years old and they look like they have the spine of an 80 or 90-year-old, and there's all these spurs and all these different things going on, and, you know, and that's what you attribute it to.
And what's
all the
sad is
craziness that you did.
it's so sad that they don't realize how it ages you. It takes time
Right.
off your lifespan.
And that if you correct it, it doesn't take the time off your lifespan. It doesn't age you as quickly.
Right, it adds
Correct.
it back for you.
I mean, it's just a sad state of affairs. I mean, you might lose, 15, 10 years off your life from, it kills you. It actually kills you. So different nerves go to different places, and depending which nerve is being degenerated, it could be the stomach one, it could be your low back one, it could be your neck going into your shoulders, it could be your heart one. And so, some of these kill you faster than others, because some organs you can live without, but
Right.
not as well, I'm sure. But on the other hand, pretty serious stuff. And eventually, the public will take this a lot more serious. That there should be a way to scan it. I remember talking to Pat Tempo. He was a classmate of mine, and he's a pretty famous guy in chiropractic. A lot of my people in my class are famous. So we would have like an EMG pen thing you'd stick in there, and if you get subluxated, you just go to the chiropractor and catch it right away. And I mean, now going to chiropractors is becoming more and more popular. It's becoming like, what, you don't have a chiropractor? So it's like a huge percentage of people now have been to chiropractors. You still have the people who are totally in fear. You still have people who hate us politically, and for no rhyme or reason, really. But it's becoming just like, going to a dentist, only a lot more fun, So that degeneration going on there is like, it's unbelievable. And it's really cool to see it get better. And again, like medically, I don't think they get that yet, that it does get better.
Right.
But if you leave it and you just say, well, I remember hearing that, eventually it's going to go and you're going to need surgery. Well, if you leave it alone and don't fix it, of course that's what's going to happen, because you've got it misaligned and it's going to deteriorate at a much faster rate. And so, yeah, if you don't fix it, of course you're going to have to get surgery eventually. So that's the sad part on that end of things.
So let's talk about the discs that we're talking about degenerating. The purpose is that they're like shock absorbers. They're between the different vertebrae. And then they also, the holes that the nerves come out between the vertebra is formed by the two bones, and there's like a half a hole above and a half a hole below. And the disc is in the middle. So if the disc gets thinner, then the size of the hole is also decreased. It's putting pressure on the nerves.
Which really is upsetting.
So you're losing the shock absorbing ability. You're having pressure on the nerves that could cause too much or too little signal going in and coming out. You're changing the motion. So just like when you use something a lot, like you use your hand on a screwdriver a lot, you'll get calluses, or a shovel. Well, you're rubbing it wrong. The motion is wrong. It's putting stress on it. So your body's building up extra calcium to try to build support, or to try to actually fuse it, so you're getting spurs or osteophytes. What else happens when the disc degenerates?
That's pretty good.
Well, you start hearing noises too. That's the other thing. People will complain about creaking and grinding noises.
Squishy noises.
And like when they're doing certain movements and stuff, they'll say, "Well, I'm hearing this noise. What is this noise?"
I'm not supposed to laugh, but every time they tell me that, I can't help it. What is that noise?
Yeah.
Like, that should have been a clue.
I had one patient ask me if they just needed some more oil, like the Tin Man, because he was making so many creaking noises, and he didn't know and attribute what it was to. And then I showed him the X-ray, and then it was like, wow, and he was a football player back in the day, so there was things, but he's changed. I mean, he's been able to change. You can, until spurs have fused together, you can change this. You can reverse some of the effects of this damage that's caused inside our body.
The disc can actually rehydrate and get some gain some height
I've
back.
had medical doctors call me and say, "What did you do?" Because they look at an X-ray of somebody from years ago, and they see 1 year later.
They think it's static, and they don't even think that it can be repaired.
They're
it's so
asking me questions
weird.
And I was kind of scared, because I'm like, "What do you mean? What did I do?" And stuff. So, and we just attribute it to the fact that we're balancing out the spine, realigning things, these misalignments, and causing the nervous system to function as a whole better the way it's supposed to.
And then the body heals.
So the body can heal. Yeah.
Because the chiropractor doesn't heal. The chiropractor helps the body to heal itself.
Mm-hmm.
The idea that it doesn't get better, all I could think of is the broken arm thing. You
Well,
break
sure.
your arm in half, and then 4 weeks later, it's healed.
Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty serious. So why would you think the disc can't heal? It's like so silly. And I have trouble more with the analytical type of, the person who's more analytical.
Yeah.
They think, well, how does it do it? And blah, blah. Look, I don't know. You built this body from the beginning from 2 cells. Tell me, how did it do it? Does any of it make sense? No, none of it makes sense.
Right.
I can't make sense of that.
And aligning, it's just one aspect to help it heal. You also need the nutrients.
Which we haven't even gotten into yet.
Right.
And
exercise and all kinds of other things help influence the healing process.
those are the 3 biggies. You got nutrients, which includes water, nutrients, and we'll go over those. And want to do it now?
Sure.
I was saving it, but okay. So calcium, magnesium, potassium, phosphorus, manganese are all the ingredients to your discs. That's what it's made of. And glucosamine helps, and there's other things that help with it. So people who just take calcium alone. So you wonder why, there's in our country, it hasn't gotten any better. The amount of osteoporosis, it's actually getting worse. And it's because we think it's calcium is what you need. That's just one of the ingredients that's missing. Mm-hmm. So you're not going to bake a cake with just flour. And if you pour more flour in the bowl, it really doesn't make a better cake. And you can put more flour in, and it doesn't make a cake. You need the eggs, you need the sugar, salt, the whole thing. So it's calcium complex. And I keep saying that, and everyone says, well, we don't have calcium complex. There's nothing called calcium. It should be called calcium complex. Very simple. Blah, 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 calcium complex. Or you follow? It should be just...
Well, there are companies that do have it as calcium complex.
Yeah, very few. The patients can't find it.
I mean, because I've had it since I was a little girl.
I mean, we have it in the office. I carry it 2 types.
Yeah.
But it's not called calcium complex. It's called Discard.
Discard, different.
Yeah.
It should be
Yeah.
called a subheading. I don't know why it isn't a calcium complex.
Well, I grew up on
Maybe-
Shackley vitamins, so
There you
that's
go.
calcium complex. And that's exactly what it's called. So, yeah, that makes sense.
And if you
And B complex, you know. So, yeah.
right. So people start taking these individuals. Well, I'm taking these 4. No,
But you're
there's
missing
more
some of
than
the other
4.
major
You gotta have the whole
nutrients.
thing.
Right.
Could you imagine making the cake without sugar in it?
Right.
You know, or baking soda if you. I don't know how to
Or
make
water
a
or
cake.
milk or some kind of liquid to hold it
And
together.
the water too. So that's the first thing. So I like to look at it as like making a porch out of cement. Cement is this powder, and the biggest ingredients is the pebbles. So throwing a bunch of pebbles on a porch won't make a stronger porch. However, if you mix it with the cement, there's nothing stronger on cement, and cement is pebbles plus the powder. Okay, you got to have the powder with it. So that's the biggie. And where do you get that? So your broccoli has it in it. What almonds, asparagus, Jello has a lot of stuff in there because it's made from that. Well, some of it's not kosher, I should say that. 'Cause
Bone broth is really good too.
bone broth.
Yeah.
Where was I? I was at a fancy restaurant a couple weeks ago. It was,
Up north in Traverse City.
what was that I ate? God, it was gross as
Bone
hell.
marrow. It was bone marrow.
Bone marrow, delicious. And they give it with toast, and you take the bone marrow and you spread it on the toast. A real fancy restaurant.
But this is the
Ugh.
broth because it takes minerals out of the bone itself, not just the marrow.
Yeah, that's great.
So you get the calcium. You get what
The
used to
whole
be
The
bone.
complex, right.
What else? Or you just go out and buy a calcium complex. You're right. Discard is what I took. It's originally I got it because I totally blew out my knee. I tore everything.
Well, and what people need to know too, and the general public needs to know, is that what you're talking about is more than your typical multivitamin. Multivitamin just gives you your
multivitamin,
basics.
yeah, that doesn't really have
And that's
anything
not
in there to help that too
right.
much.
What we're talking about is in addition to your
Correct.
basic multivitamin.
So I take a
And people need to
multivitamin
know
and I
that.
take a calcium complex.
Because there's numerous people that I've educated, and you know, you're sitting down, you're going over the X-rays with them, and you're talking nutrition with them, and the first thing you say is, "Oh yeah, I take a multivitamin." Yes, but that's not
And that's
enough.
good, but that's not gonna help this.
And especially if we're talking about degeneration, we stress the importance of making sure to increase how much of the extra substances you're getting, because you need to rebuild that area. And the body is not going to go into its full healing stage until we get things balanced and we rebuild that area. So, yeah.
And let's talk about, I guess, go into the exercise part of this, which we're going to do exercises at the end of the show, which would help this. So pay attention to that. But here you are, you're taking all the nutrients. At the age of 25, you lose the blood supply to your disc. There's no blood supply. So from 25 up,
You better be moving.
and I don't know why. People say, well, why is that? I don't know. God had a better idea.
Right.
So once that stops, the only way you're going to get it there is by movement.
Right.
That gets
So-
the nutrients in and the waste out.
So when you're taking the vitamins, you're loading up the trucks, but the trucks aren't going to be delivered there unless you're moving. And what's the moving? You just stretch this way and that way. Not while you're sitting either. You shouldn't do it while you're sitting because now you're bending and twisting. So you want to stand and just turn. I usually take a deep breath all the way out and turn a little more. Take a deep breath all the way out and turn a little more. Not to where it hurts or pops or any of that. And I take it here and I take a deep breath all the way out. And I take a deep breath all the way out. You do a couple of those, then you can just do the regular turning, and you want to turn your neck with it too.
I like doing it in the bathtub. I don't know why, but
Yeah, you splash a lot in there. I go, what's
just
going on in there?
Twist the body one way and the legs the other way, and then twist around the other way.
And I would imagine
and I'm not sitting, so I'm
because
laying.
you're in a hot bath, I would think that
Well, water's to
it
your
would
benefit.
it would move even more.
Yeah,
calcium
sure. 'Cause the
to
muscles are
calcium
relaxed.
complex.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the muscles are relaxed.
So eventually our country will start saying calcium complex. I've been saying it now at least 15 years.
Longer.
Yeah.
Longer.
More like 25 years.
Since I was little, so yeah.
So
And if you're getting enough calcium complex, your nails grow longer and stronger.
they do,
So
they do,
you know
they
that
do.
you know you're doing better with it.
Yes, yes, and yes. Because your body, like she was talking about earlier, if it's degenerating and your body's going to try growing spurs there because the disc will actually start to squish out, you know, it doesn't just go, it goes like this and then everything's squishing out the other way.
Show it on that picture that you have
Here you
right
go.
there. You can see.
And, yeah, see,
A very nice picture
actually,
there.
you know what? I bet you this has got a really good, real good one. Look at that. So you're just squishing out, so your body is going to make the calcium come way out here. And it'll grow this great big old spur to help contain this
To
sucker.
stabilize it.
And again, 4 weeks for a broken arm. So you can imagine how quickly that would grow that spur. And people say, well, spurs never go away. Yeah, right. I've had spurs and then they're gone. Okay, I've done it back and forth. So that's what, and now this calcium that's growing is my point on this. It's taking it from somewhere. So as your body's growing that, where's it taking it from? The calcium's coming from somewhere. So it's probably coming from one of the bodies of these vertebrae here. So now you have osteoporosis on one end, and on the other end, you got spurring growing all over the place. So some people think, well, I shouldn't take calcium complex because I'm already growing spurs. No.
Yeah, I've heard that
not
a couple
at
of times
all.
before, too, yeah.
When you get this thing corrected, this spur grows away, and you want to put enough calcium back into your body to where you were missing it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And is this a quick process or a slow process?
It took you 3 years to get your neck back.
3 years for me, baby. And it's still not all the way
you
back.
gotta be patient.
I still have a curve. My curve is in my neck like that. But all the discs grew back and all the disc heights grew back. I probably put an inch on myself. You know, an extra inch again. Woohoo! You know, just what I need to bump my head some more. So, yeah, I grew those
You know,
discs
and
back.
it's funny you talk about that too. We should mention too that, you know, people don't notice that. They just notice that they might be getting shorter, and they don't attribute it to the fact that you're losing the nutrients out of that disc, so that's dissolving that down, getting those bones closer together, and that is in fact why you're losing height.
It's like, Grandma, why did you get so short? What
Yeah,
happened?
yeah.
You got taller. I don't think so. Okay. Oh, man. Like you're talking 4 inches,
Yeah,
4
you can
inches.
lose up to 4 inches, yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
And that's just because Grandma hurt her back, quit moving, everything deteriorated from there. Because you got no nutrients, no blood supply, shrinkage occurs.
I lost about 2.5 in a car accident, and I've gotten half of it back so far. So yeah,
Wow.
You definitely, you know, and it can happen in a quick impact, short amount of time. It doesn't take long for it to start in the process. So you have to make sure to keep yourself hydrated and getting those appropriate nutrients in there. So yeah.
You know, also gravity squishes us too. You might lose some, an inch or so a day.
You're
from
taller in
that.
the morning because
I would take my kids. I have stair-stepped kids, like an annual event. So it was like, wait, they're your kids too. So I would take them to one of these. It was
Amusement parks?
What's that one? Am I allowed
Cedar
to-
Point?
Cedar Point.
Oh, Cedar Point,
And
yeah.
so I'm taking them there. So the price, if you're going on the big rides, is totally different than if you can't go because of height. You can't go on the big rides. You're on the little rides. So in the morning, I take them. They'd go on the big rides, and by the end of the day, they shrink, and I'd get my money back. The difference.
Oh, jeez.
I don't remember doing that, but
You didn't. I did. I took the kids. It was a daddy weekend.
Well, now you can't do that
And,
because when I started working there, it was you get a bracelet. That's it. That's what you got
they
for the
still
day.
measured them though.
So yeah.
Paul got nailed, and my
Yeah,
youngest
well, now
boy.
it's
And
the little ones that, you know, more.
so you could ride the rides in the morning. So I said, let's go on the big ones first, while you can still go on them. You know, then we put paper in his shoes and things like that to help counterbalance that height discrimination thing.
Yeah.
But
no, it's not a height discrimination. It's a safety thing.
Safety.
And I don't
It's
think you should
about
encourage
safety.
people that
well,
choose
he's
safety.
just that tall with the paper in the shoes. You know, we go to the bathroom, take out the paper towel,
Take
and
quite a bit
fold
of
it up,
paper
stick it in
to-
there.
yeah,
and
to get your height.
we could get like a 1/4 inch or so, but you can't really, like you said, safety-wise, you don't want to go bigger than that. But so you got another hour out of it. So anyway,
People should be careful, though, while you're talking about amusement parks. I guess that we should put in there. Growing up, I went to tons of amusement parks. I worked at Cedar Point for 5 years, and doing those rides were never a problem. But when you have degeneration, you should really be careful when you're getting on things like that with these high velocity, high impact type of rides. So, and they're coming out with the meanest and the baddest roller coasters out there now. So you have to really be careful. You do.
I like the roller coaster.
Yeah, I know. But
so we found a way to
have to
quit
know.
whiplashing your neck. So you have this bar comes over you, right? And your head's flopping around. They say, push it back, and it still goes kunk, kunk, kunk. Or push it forward, then it's going blah, 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 like a
Right.
maraca.
And you're straining the muscles when
Killer,
you're doing
right?
that, because you're going against the velocity of this ride. So yeah.
So I was out there with Tony, Paul, Alex, Adam. Everyone's chiropractors, Neil, and we're all chiropractors. I said, do you realize the intelligence we have standing right here? and biomechanically, we're looking at, they're all, everyone's doctors. And so here's what we came up with. Ready? Take your hands, here's the thing. Take your hands out and go like that. And your head doesn't move at all. Oh my God. So, the pictures as you're going through, there's all of us going. But
Very nice.
it totally stopped it. I had to get adjusted on pretty much every ride or every other ride. It would just knock my neck out.
I've had that. Went with my parents and got off the ride, and my mother needed an adjustment. So here I am adjusting her. All of a
Right.
sudden, there's this line of
And
people
now
that start to
everybody
follow.
sees you doing it. Oh my God, you're a chiropractor.
you're a chiropractor.
And the
Can
line's
you check
bigger for me
this?
than the
Can you
stupid
check this?
ride. I'm like, oh my God. Unbelievable when that happens.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah,
oh,
that's
really?
happened. Yeah.
Oh. And then how do you get out of there? You got to kind of like sneak out eventually. Yeah.
Take a pretend
There's-
phone call, maybe.
Yeah,
I don't
there's
know.
like 30 people like, in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, a chiropractor. Like hungry dogs to a T-bone steak.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's so funny. 'cause
When I
it's
worked
happened
at
so many times to
when
me.
I worked at Cedar Point, we had a medical doctor and a chiropractor on staff all the time.
Wow.
So that was always a smart thing. So
The last time I went there, I saw a whole lot of chiropractors right outside the place. Just line, the offices.
Oh yeah.
I was very surprised.
Oh, yeah.
Because remember, I've been going to Cedar Point, back 45, 50 years ago. Maybe 45. Yeah. 50 doesn't quite make it. But I've been doing it that long. Cedar Point's been there that long. When I was a kid. Wow. And so there weren't a lot of chiropractors when I first went down there.
But people are more aware of their spines and what chiropractor can do.
Yeah.
And like you said, they realize when they get off the ride that they're sore, that they've been
How's-
whiplashed.
It's so silly. Just all you do is hold your head. If you hold your head, it doesn't bob, it doesn't weave, it doesn't, like the thing it bang. You ever bang on those when
Yeah,
the thing
yeah,
your
some
head
of
kunk,
them
kunk, kunk.
bang,
I'm like, oh my God. So I feel like I got punched in the face 10 times or 100 in a quick minute, not even 38 seconds or whatever it is. And
Yeah.
I go like that and nothing happens. I don't go forward or back. I don't go side to side. I just hold it. Because this is locked in. My hands are locked into the moving vehicle. Anyway, brilliant. I think Paul said that. I said,
Yeah.
I just couldn't believe that we have this many chiropractors and we can't figure out a way not to get whiplash here. Like I'm getting whiplash on every ride. I'm pushing, couldn't, and then that, smooth sailing. Very smooth. Although since the electrocution, I haven't gone on one yet. But I'm ready now, I think. The tissue
I'm not quite
is,
there yet, but I'm getting
the
there.
tissue is healed.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just want it to be solid and rock solid. I don't want it to squish out real quick.
Right.
So I'm trying to firm it up. But I think this year is my year. I'm going to be riding the rides. Up and down. I love that up and down stuff. I go back to flying.
And you've
everything
got
else.
spring break coming up too. When this show airs, it's going to be close to when the kids are going to be going on spring break. And one of the things is I see some of the busiest times in office is when everyone gets back from vacation from spring break. The whole family comes in and they're all like,
Oh, my God.
whether it be they went someplace warm and they
water
just overdid it with
skied
the water.
and, oh
yeah.
my God.
Yeah,
A slew of them for that one.
Yeah. So we see a lot of whiplash injuries during that time frame. So yeah.
And I suppose right now would be a good time to talk about spring cleanup, because that's going to happen. Talk
Yeah.
about a slew of patients.
Yeah.
All of
yeah.
a sudden, all these people come in, and they're all crippled. So here's an example. So I was feeling super great. I haven't been on the floor for probably, well, since I got electrocuted, because my hip joints got dislocated. So, but now I can do things again. I can cross my legs again, little things. So, you know, I thought I was fine. And so I'm on the ground and I'm doing things with the carpeting, and I was working on a bicycle and doing different things on the ground. And I felt fine. So 8 hours later, I'm like, okay.
Hurting.
Well, I didn't feel it yet.
Oh.
The next day I go back on the ground. I can do it some more, right? I'm down on the ground again. I got my legs this way, and I'm moving, I'm twisting, bending and twisting all over the place. Well, then it happened. It's called Monday. Monday happened. And I felt, you know, when you're building your gluteals, that exercise where you go, you know, your what do you call that?
The lunge?
The lunge. I felt like I did 1,000 lunges because I could hardly move. My buttocks, my legs, plus I irritated the low back L5 disc, so that had to be swollen like a balloon. And so for 5 days I suffered. Did I learn my lesson? For this week, definitely. Next week, probably. The week after, it starts to fade. Because pain's relative. Pain is a learned behavior. We respond to pain based on our experiences and what our family said. Like, oh my God, what happened to you? You know, I remember as a child, I wiped out, no, I jumped out of a tree and kind of broke my nose and my toe and had this goose egg. And I went way out on the limb and I couldn't get back. So then I said, get out of the way, and I jumped. Okay, so I ride my bicycle. I'm probably half a mile away. I ride my bicycle home. I never cried until my mom said, oh my God, what happened to you? And then I start crying and, you know, and all this stuff. And anyway, I mean, I was all busted up, but I was okay. I was just pretty broken, you know, like.
Well, you have a high tolerance for pain,
That's
too.
true, too. But, you know, I learned from my dad, you know, he steps on the rake, it's going through his toe. Here, son, give me a hand here. He picks his foot up, hands me a rake. I'm holding the rake, he's pulling his foot out. Little things. So, yeah, so, you know, it depends how and how you learn it. That, you know, people take things, you know, like if you're from a boxing family, getting punched in the faces,
Not a big deal.
Not a big
Right.
deal.
Well, pain is a warning, too. If you use it as that, it serves its purpose.
Absolutely.
If you have pain, your body's saying, hey, we have some healing to do. Let's rest up. Let's not overdo. We need to heal.
But even before pain, you can also have stiffness and other things too. And that, how many times do we ignore that warning sign? So, yeah.
Like, for my dad, I learned a work ethic. You know, like work. We're gonna work. So I'm a, you know, from morning till night I can work. Take a break, whatever. You know, enjoy yourself too, but work ethic. So you can get pretty sore. I remember when I first started at Chrysler's, I was a large press operator. Oh, the first couple days, I was like so miserable. And like being a chiropractor, or in the firewood business too. You know, the first couple weeks, man, that was like miserable because my body was not ready to do that kind of work yet.
And then you got to learn the proper ergonomics, too. Like you said, you don't want to bend and twist. You want to lift with your feet, not bending and lifting and things like that. So if you have proper body mechanics, you don't feel it as much, and it doesn't hurt your body as much.
My favorite way of learning that is you look at somebody who's done it for a long time. They have to be doing it right or they wouldn't have made it that far.
True.
You know, the old timers. So, you know, that's a biggie. So let's take this back now to spring cleaning. And how does that going to be? So first of all, it's the same as what I did the other day. Don't go out and cripple yourself. That's the biggie.
Well, one of the things you got to really pay attention to is the big thaw that comes. The ground is very soft, very pliable, and people don't pay attention to how they're walking on the ground. and you can sink more on one side from the other. And the first thing we start to see is a knee's out of place, a hip's out of place, I having sciatica pain down my leg, and they're wondering how that's possible when they weren't bending over and picking up twigs yet and all that kind of stuff. So how is that happening? Well, it's because the ground is so soft and pliable, especially here in Michigan. So, that makes a big difference.
Yeah, I get a little chuckle when they tell me, I don't know how it happened.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, so what did you do?
Yeah.
Like obviously it's caused from something here. What, it's like, we've already seen the x-rays and they're trying to say that they don't know.
I love the answer, nothing out of the ordinary, nothing more than I always do. Well, what do you always do? So, yeah, sometimes you have to fish to get an answer from him. But yeah.
It happened at night. I woke up with it. Well, what'd you do last night? Okay.
Well, I have a feeling some people are going to try to get outside next week even because we're forecasted to have like 50 degrees, 52 degrees for a couple days in a row. Well, then when it gets cold again, then the ground is going to be different again. So, you have to watch those kind of things. Those make big differences. So wearing the proper shoes when you're doing it, that kind of thing. So, yeah.
Okay, and so now it's been thawed for a week or two. So now what's next? All the stuff that fell everywhere, that's all around the house is the next thing. And you want to throw out stuff. So again, the bending and twisting. Did you warm up? Your muscles might be cold. You're going out in the cold. If you didn't drink enough water, oh man.
Warm up. You should really hit on that because we talked about that in one of the other shows. That's so important that you have to warm up those muscles before you go out into that different degree with those different temperatures before you do that kind of cleanup. That makes a big difference.
And if you're going to rake, you don't want to reach and pull. You want to move with your feet. Because when you reach and pull, you're exposing the small muscles in your back that are holding your ribs together because your shoulder blades move out of the way when you reach. So you want to keep your elbows in and move with your feet.
So if you bend, instead of standing and pulling with your arms and you bend over, how much more weight per PSI would there be?
They say there's 10 times if you're bending over when you're picking something up because it's like a lever. The further out you go, the more pressure it is. So if you're bending, the fulcrum is the point where you're bending, the spot on your low back, your L5 disc maybe. And you're lifting up 10 pounds, it's like you're lifting up an extra 100 pounds. Plus the weight of your body is changing too.
Which on average in our state is about 100 pounds. They say 110, but I think we're doing better this year.
And most things, like when you have a bag of leaves and when you have, a bag of sticks and all those different kinds of things, you're going to lift over 10 pounds. So you know that if you times that by 10, you know that you're lifting a lot of weight.
So you want to keep it close to your body.
Yeah.
So and you don't want to bend. You want to keep your back straight.
I always tell people that have any kind of degeneration, whether it be versus, on X-ray or that have come into the office that we have taken care of and stuff, I tell them wear a back brace. You're doing heavy labor like that, wear a back brace. Protect your back at all costs. So.
Like a bodybuilder wears a belt. And you can use a bodybuilder belt. It's fine too. Yeah. So if I have to bend over to pick something up, I'll usually put my elbow on my knee as I'm bending down because I'm taking all that weight and putting it on my leg instead of on my back. So here I lift a 10-pound weight and now I push off, and that way it's a lot less weight on me.
You can do that with your housework around the house too. I do that with my dishwasher. Lean my hand on the counter while I'm filling the dishwasher, things of that nature.
Yes.
When you're unloading a washer or dryer or whatnot with clothes and stuff. Any of those kind of things where you can take pressure off definitely takes pressure off your back and off your spine.
So the sheep herders and goat herders, they always had this stick. And the reason for the stick is not to hit the animal. It was because their backs are sore, because they're standing on uneven ground. And it helps to support them better. That's what the stick is all about. A lot of people wonder why Moses had a stick, because they were taking care of goats and different things like that. And so that's the same along the same line. And then getting it in close to the body. So the further out you reach, you're multiplying that amount more and more and more.
Plus, you also expand the rib cage that much more, And we have so many cases of people that come in with ribs
pull
out of
the
place,
rib
and they
pulling
say that they're either having labored breathing or they're having trouble with the stiffness and
Or
it's
sharp
catching their
pain, sharp
breath,
pains when they breathe in.
sharp pain when they breathe, those kind of things. I mean, I see that all the time. All the time.
So I see that at the beginning of the winter because they're pulling on their snow blowers or their, what do you call not jet ski, the
Snowmobiles.
Snowmobiles. Yeah, so they're some of them don't have electric starters. They're pulling on them. So I see a lot of it then, and then I see it again in the spring, because the spring, guess what they're doing then? They're starting the lawnmower. So I get a million of them like that with that rib pulling on. It feels kind of like a stabbing, sharp stab pain. Goes away quickly because it's usually 2 weeks for muscles to heal, 4 to 6 weeks for tendons to heal. So once you pulled that rib out, you had to tear the muscles. But you put it in like a couple weeks, it's gone. Or you can leave it there for maybe, I think the longest is about 2.5 years. And it's supposed to kill you. Gives you like a heart attack is what happens. The way that works is the rib goes out, so the pressure on it, the body starts rotating the whole rib cage, which torques. There's a sac around the heart called the pericardial sac, and it torques it. So then the heart starts to flutter, and eventually you get a heart attack from it. And that's a whole process in itself. For us to fix, but devastating if you leave it there. I don't mean for a day or two. I'm talking, you got to leave it there. It's 1.5 years to 2.5 years, I think, is the expected life expectancy on that if you leave it there. I've had people where they actually went in and clipped the nerve going from that, it's underneath the rib. They went in there and clipped the nerve. That's a crazy thing.
Wow.
Huh? I guess that's one way of fixing it. But it's like, oh my
Seems
God,
a little
really?
invasive.
Very invasive. We just fixed that pretty easy. 4 to 6 visits, 7 visits. I'm usually got that handled pretty good. Yeah. But what do you want to talk more about? Cleanup. Thinking about going out, cleaning up, man.
Well, some of the biggest things was you already hit on the fact that the ground is going to be uneven, and that we got to pay attention with that, and the bending, keeping your elbows in close to your body, that kind of thing, and taking breaks, staying hydrated. We talked about, in the summertime, you got to do it when you're doing the weeding and the gardening and everything. We got to do it in the springtime too. You have to stay hydrated. So that's really important.
Absolutely. So let's move on to our next topic, kids in chiropractic. God, I love those kids. They're my favorite patients. They're so easy.
Yesterday I adjusted a 6-week-old.
Wow.
Yeah, so tiny. So tiny. Yep.
They're so easy for me. I just love little kids. And, if they're babies, they're not talking. I don't have to hear anything. I don't have to know anything.
They're just cooing and sleeping
Yeah.
the whole time. But it does bring up and raise questions because, there's other patients that are in the office, and then a new mother comes in and brings in a new baby, and everybody starts talking and says, well, why would you adjust a baby? I don't understand. Why does a baby need to be adjusted? So, it's really important for us to hit on the fact of what we do in chiropractic and how a subluxation happens in the birthing process, and that we all do subluxate. And so, adjusting a baby is not the same as when you're adjusting an adult, obviously. The way the adjustment is performed is different, and it's so non-invasive, and it's so gentle for them, and
it makes
most
such a
of them
difference.
makes such a difference, and most of them don't even wake up. They might smile or coo a little bit, and I get comments like parents that say, my child never slept through the night, and now they're sleeping through the night, and just amazing things. So I've had those calls in the middle of the night when a child's got this outrageous fever, and then they get an Atlas adjustment, and fever goes right away. Body normalizes, temperatures go the way they're supposed to, and everything becomes basic again. So it's amazing. It's just amazing.
So for people who are patients and their understanding of the subluxation complex, the movement of a bone pressing on a nerve, when they understand that, they all want to get their kids checked.
Oh, yeah. Then they bring their whole family in. Yeah.
So just to check it. If it's out, it's out. If it's not, not. And if it is out, it's really simple to fix. It only takes a second. Boom, done. And, which is surprising sometimes to the parent. That was it? Yeah, that was it. You know, if you've ever picked up a baby, sometimes you'll actually feel some of the little vertebrae moving around. You know, you'll pick them up and go, I felt something there.
Or you'll hear some things
yeah,
too.
or hear something,
You know, how
or-
flexible they are. Sure.
And you know, our job is to keep that alignment perfect so that the nerves are working at 100% perfect, the way the body and God had meant it to be, that the signals flow normal and correctly down the cord, out each nerve to every single cell in our body. That's the whole goal, the whole purpose, and that's it. Do they have to have symptoms? No. Can they, if they have symptoms? Sure. Does it make a difference? Not to me.
It's important.
If it's out, it's out. If it's in, it's in. Bottom line.
Yeah, it's important to note too that the symptoms don't have to just be pain. With children, it's a lot harder for the symptom to be pain. It could be something simple like having reflux, can't hold down formula, or can't hold down breast milk when it's newborn, or you know, not sleeping through the night, or breathing problems, or that kind of thing.
Breathing
So,
difficulties.
you know,
is a big
yeah,
one.
there's a lot of different
And
things out there.
colicky is another one. I
But
get a lot of
yeah, a
colicky
lot of
ones.
colicky, yeah.
You know, I'm thinking symptom-wise, you know, kids coming in.
The biggest thing I
sleeping
see in
thing
the
is a big
office
one,
is
too.
hyperactivity. I see tons of hyperactivity come through the door, and parents just don't want to medicate the kids. They want to try some alternative to it. So
So I had a patient, hyperactive, you know, wild. Okay, and so he comes in, I'm adjusting him, and the teacher says to the mom, "What did you do?"
yeah,
And she says, "I took him to a chiropractor." She says, "Really?" She says, "I don't believe in that." Okay, so this is years ago, and I mean, he's probably about 20 now. So then the teacher could tell when he wasn't going to the chiropractor, and would call the mom and say, "You didn't take him to the chiropractor recently. You need to take him." So, you know, because later he was, you know, holding his adjustments and all that. But if it goes out, then he'd start getting hyper and acting up. And the teacher actually knew that this actually was incredibly helping this young boy. And I found that, you know, because she didn't believe in it. She says,
Yeah.
"I want nothing to do with it." She says,
Yeah.
"All I know is that kid's normal when he's adjusted."
Yeah.
And
I had one. They were going to pull him out of school and put him into a special school. And when he would come in the office, he could run circles and laps around the office. He just could not sit in a chair. And he'd get adjusted, and the parents would comment that the car ride home was the most peaceful car ride home, you know, that they would experience. And the child was able to stay in the classroom, was able to stay in the same school, and didn't have to be taken out. So, yeah, it's amazing.
It is amazing. It's unbelievable what it can do. So for all the people out there who have tried everything and done everything and haven't been to a chiropractor, please don't do that. Please go to a chiropractor. It's like so sad that, you know, and it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter what it is. Because being, you know, less subluxated and having a nerve supply that's functioning normal is you know, it can be night and day. Doesn't mean 100% of the time, like I said. I refer out all the time. I refer to all kinds of doctors for all kinds of problems, you know. And a lot of it we're working together now. You know, take care of the emergency part of it, and we'll keep correcting it and things like that. So, which is it's a new time, a new day. And yeah, things are changing. And we're working well together. And, you know, the idea is, you know, you have this ability to do things and an ability to heal and abilities that you might not be able to utilize by having a bone out of place. And you might not even know it's out of place.
You don't have to have pain.
You know, and, you know, well, you look at it and there it is. It's simple as that. I mean, it's easy once you have pain. That's.
Well, yeah, and pain comes so much later that the problem was already there for a long time. And, you know, there's so many other warning signs that we just ignore, and there's so many things that we just think, oh, it'll just go away on its own.
One of my
There comes a
patients
point it
yesterday
doesn't.
says to me, she came in for a severe low back, you know, disc and subluxation and pinched nerve and everything. And she goes, "Could this be helping like my numb hands?" I'm waking up in the morning with my hands aren't numb. And she had the same problem in her neck as she had in her low back. You know, and we've all seen this multiple times where, you know, it does that and helps in other things where she didn't know. Okay, so we got 2 minutes. You want to wrap this up real quick, and then we're going to go to exercising with Tony and Alex, your daughter.
That's
Okay.
right.
Just be aware of your body. Listen to your body. The pain is there for a reason. Make sure to be checked to make sure that your body's functioning normally so it doesn't degenerate. You don't want to be the little person hunched over that can't do anything. You want to be the vibrant 80-year-old that's running around and doing all kinds of things.
Excellent. And my old saying is, God gave you the gift of life, and what you do with that life is your gift back to God. So we'll see you next month at Ask the Chiropractor, and you guys have a great day.
Welcome back to Ask the Chiropractor. We're going to show you some spinal exercises, some good posture exercises. With me today is Alex Heatley, and we're going to show you that it's never too young to start a good exercise program. Before we get into the posture exercises, we were talking about degeneration, and Dr. Rodnick was talking about you want to keep motion in the spine. So we're going to just motion the spine a little. He was alluding to just twist. You want to twist one way and twist the other way. You want to just keep motioning. You want to keep turning your head along with it. Just get some motion into the spine so the nutrients get into the disc. You can also, then you can just bend over, just hang. You call this just hanging. Just hang. You can. Another one is throwing water. We want to just throw water. Pretend you're throwing a bucket of water. Now we're going to just show you the spinal hygiene exercises. These are just good posture exercises. And just like dental hygiene is done several times a day, we suggest spinal hygiene several times a day. You want to start with your feet shoulder width apart. You want to tighten your core, focus on the core. And then as you breathe in, you want to bring your arms up and tip your head back. And just stretch up as you're doing it. Just stretch. You should feel it in your whole spine is just decompressing. And then breathe out. And then do it again. Take a deep breath in as you stretch up. Look up and stretch up and breathe out. We're going to do this 2 or 3 times a day. In and hold it. And the second one we call the hummingbird. You want to stay feet shoulder width apart. You're going to bring your arms up and you're going to make backward circles with your shoulders. And when you're doing this, you want to focus on the space between your shoulder blades. We want to tighten up those muscles because this day and age, we're always hunching over, we're texting, we're on the computer. So we want to strengthen the muscles in the back that we're weakening and not using as much. You can tip to the side, tip to the other side. We say do everything symmetrical, so if you go to one side, you want to go to the other side, and just backward circles. The third one, you're going to clasp your hands, and you're going to put them behind your head, but you're not pushing with your hands, you're going to be pushing with your head. So you take a deep breath in, and you push back with your head. This is building up the muscles in the back of the neck, helping put curve in your neck, especially for people that have lost the curve in their neck. Then breathe out and relax. Take a deep breath in, push your head back, and hold it. Now we're just pushing our head straight back. We're not tipping our head up. We're just going straight back. The motion is backwards. Let's do it one more time. Take a deep breath in, push your head back, and breathe out. Those 3 exercises are posture pod or spinal hygiene exercises. Good for everybody, from older people to younger people. I can't say I'm older, but I'm getting there. It's been a pleasure. This has been Ask the Chiropractor. We'll see you next month. Thank you for joining us. Thank you. That was great.